The Habs decor has been off to such a hot start this season, and I think that David Savard has been probably our best defenseman so far. I have some stats to back that up. Plus, we're going to get into some things that Coach Martin St. Louis has said regarding the Montreal Canadiens' power play philosophy and the kind of qualities he wants as a third player alongside Suzuki and Caufield. Finally, we'll talk about Lane Hutson and the awesome award he got this week in the NCAA, so you won't want to miss this episode of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to the spooky Halloween edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, and before we get into the news today, as always, just a very quick reminder that 89.4% of you guys are not subscribed. Now, we have had such tremendous support from all you guys. Our subscriber count is shooting up by the hundreds every day, and if you're enjoying this content, you notice that red button isn't pressed, and you want daily Habs news or just game recaps, we got your back here at Habs Digest. All right, let's get into the first topic. So the first thing I got to talk about today, bold claim, David Savard is the Canadiens' best defenseman. Some of you will look at that headline and say, well, I don't know if I believe you. I mean, David Savard doesn't exactly have a game that, catches your eye. Someone on this team like Kaiden, Guhle, a rookie who has come in and laid the body. I believe he's leading the team in hits or is at least close to it. Scored his first NHL goal on a one-time snipe just the other night. He's been performing really well. He's been getting some league-wide recognition. We have guys like Arber, Xhekaj, and Jordan Harris. I put out a poll today asking you guys who you thought has been performing better so far this year, and the overwhelming majority of you thought that Arber, Xhekaj has been performing better than Jordan Harris so far. At least you've been more impressed with Arber, Xhekaj. And yeah, his game is really noticeable. Big hits, fights, big body, has a goal so far. Great. Jordan Harris has been so underrated, was leading the team in plus-minus at one point. But with all that said, I wanted to focus in on David Savard and just how important he has been to this Habs decor, because I don't want him to lose recognition or to lose out on the recognition, I should say, that some of these other defensemen are getting on Montreal. The first thing I want to talk about here is the blocked shots leaders. This was pulled directly from the Hockey Reference website. You feel free to go there and look at this stat yourself. But take a look at this. David Savard has 40 blocked shots so far this season, and the next highest Montreal Canadien is Jordan Harris at 20. Only, like you can see here, only 3 players have more than 10 blocked shots, and David Savard has 2 times the second highest. Not only that, his average time on ice at 22:28, I don't have a graphic to prove this, you can go look at it yourself, but his 22 minutes and 28 seconds of ice time leads the entire team this year, of course not counting goalies. He has been so good defensively and on the penalty kill at blocking shots, just making great defensive plays. But it's not only that. David Savard is 6th on the team in scoring, and while that sounds kind of weird, yeah, he's 6th on your team in scoring, you can see here, he is our highest scoring defenseman. He has 4 points. Our next highest scoring defenseman, I believe Guhle and Harris each have 3 points. Harris with 3 assists, Guhle with 1 goal and 2 assists, but even here you can see the time on ice again is very high relative to these other guys. But man, he has been so good in every facet so far this year. Like I just showed, 40 block shots, averaging over 4 a game for Montreal, leads the team in time on ice, is our highest scoring defenseman, and I feel like no one is talking about him. I mean, for good reason, Kaiden, Guhle, Arber, Xhekaj, these guys are getting lots of attention because their game is much more noticeable. They're young, they're rookies, they're showing up on the NHL stage while being just newbies in the league. But David Savard is a grizzled veteran. He's been around for a long time. We knew he could be solid. Last year, he really didn't show it very well. He was a little underwhelming. But coming into this year, I think we all had low expectations of him. But he has performed so well, and I feel like people haven't really been catching notice. I mean, as me and Jesse have mentioned in some of these game recaps, it's not only his block shots and his point totals, but some of the plays he's making at the blue line, just smart sticks, poking the puck away, clearing the zone, and a lot of his little fancy dekes were little shot fakes, pass fakes, fooling defenders, setting up goals. I mean, I think he has been absolutely incredible, and I just needed to show you guys why you should be appreciating Savard right now while he is playing great. Is this sustainable? Will he play like this the whole season? I'm not sure, but so far I am thoroughly impressed. After David Savard, let's now get into Coach Martin St. Louis. And he spoke a bit about Montreal's power play philosophy and just some general philosophy of what kind of stuff he likes in lines. So the first quote I'm going to bring up here, Priyanka Emrith, she has done a great job of tweeting out some Habs media or media availability quotes. And here's one from Coach Martin St. Louis about his power play. Quote, "You shouldn't plan your power play hoping you don't give up an odd man rush. You plan your power play to score goals, and we felt that last game those were the 5 guys who gave us the best chance." Of course, this was referring to the 5 forward power play that we have been running so far this season. And I think this is an awesome quote, and it really speaks to Coach Marty's philosophy and the concepts that the Montreal Canadiens are putting into play this season. A lot of teams sometimes, when you're on a power play, not even a lot of teams. Let's just take this to the very base level of sports. I played sports when I was a kid. I'm sure a lot of you did as well. I mean, I still play some sports. No hockey, but I play some basketball. But, a lot of the time when you're younger, you're trying out for a team or something, you're not the best player out there. Sometimes you play to not make mistakes. You don't want the coach to have anything to get mad at you about, right? And, even though these guys are NHL players, as they're going up through, you still might make some mistakes here and there, and some coaches might really hold you accountable. Now, while coaches should hold you accountable for mistakes, you don't want, as Coach Marty has said, you don't want to overcoach those. You want players to be confident in themselves. And I think just the level of confidence that Coach St. Louis is putting into these players is showing so far this year, and this power play philosophy, this quote here, is just another example of that. Having 5 forwards out there, just knowing that, we want to score a goal, we don't care about anything else. We're not playing around mistakes. We're not going to put, say, Chris Weidman or Kaiden Guhle at the point just so that we have a last line of defense in case they go on an odd man rush 2-on-1 on the penalty kill. No, we're in the offensive zone because those 5 guys are great scorers. That gives us the best chance to score, and that is all we care about. I thought that was really cool from Coach St. Louis to say, and that wasn't the only thing he had to say. Take a look at this too. He was speaking a bit about the forwards philosophy, talking about a third player on a line with 14 and 22, that meaning Suzuki and Caufield, because we've seen Coach St. Louis mess around with that third player this season. We've had Hoffman, we've had Anderson, and most recently we've had Dach. Quote, "A third guy's got to be able to facilitate the duo. You always try to bring a guy there that brings something to that line, but the guy who goes in has to understand what Suzy and Cole do best as well." He went on to say as well, he has played alongside Vincent Lecavalier. He played alongside Brad Richards, 2 legendary centers in their day, with St. Louis, of course, being a legendary winger, winning the Art Ross before. So he knows what it's like to be that scoring winger in a similar role to Caufield, similar height to Caufield. And so he knows what it's like. He knows that third player needs to be there to win board battles, get you the puck, be able to facilitate their own game, but knowing that the other 2 guys are the skilled guys. They're the more important guys on this line. You got to do everything you can to let them facilitate the game. And to be honest, in my opinion, when we had Dach on that line just the other night, I think that was the best we've seen that line play all season. I think Kirby Dach brings a smoothness, a confidence to that line that we haven't really seen from some other players. Sure, Anderson is big. We like the size, but sometimes he's not that smooth, right? His hands aren't the best, but he's very physical. And then we saw Mike Hoffman. And now we've seen Kirby Dach, and he brings that combination of smoothness and size to this line. You almost get the best of Anderson and Hoffman in one, in my opinion. Sure, Dach hasn't been putting up crazy point totals yet, but I think he fits really well there. Seems like St. Louis might think so as well, but as you can see, these are some of the philosophies he's looking at, and so far, I think Dach fits the bill perfectly. And before we end off this video, another quick Habs prospect update. Lane Hutson. I love Lane Hutson. You know I love Lane Hutson if you've been watching the videos. This very short, fiery offensive defenseman playing at Boston University in the NCAA. And check this out. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, Lane Hutson is your Hockey East Rookie of the Week. Hockey East is, of course, the conference that Boston University plays in the NCAA. He is the Rookie of the Week. He has been playing phenomenally for Boston University. He has 8 points in 7 games. That's 3 goals and 5 assists. And, of course, he's Player of the Week this week because in the game against ranked number 18 in the country, UMass Lowell, he had a late tying goal in the third period with just over 2 minutes left, plus scored the overtime winner. I mean, how could you not give him the award? I mean, not only is he the Rookie of the Week for Hockey East, as a defenseman, he is leading all freshmen in his conference, as in all... If you're not sure what a freshman is, maybe you're not from the United States or Canada. Freshman is a first-year player. So if you're not, he's a rookie in this conference. Out of all freshmen in his conference, he is leading in points per game at 1.14. He is a defenseman, and he is leading all freshmen in his conference in points per game. I think he has been just so great. I mean, there are some concerns that, at his size, will he be able to eventually contribute on an NHL level? In my opinion, as we've seen with lots of guys, especially recently, with a guy on our team, namely Caufield, who has done really well for himself, if you have the skill, you don't need the size. Another good example of a defenseman who's really undersized, look at Matt Grzelcyk for Boston. I mean, there are lots of undersized guys now in the NHL, more than ever, because the skill level is higher than ever. So I think if Hutson can continue at this pace, continue developing himself, getting better every single night like he's doing, he has a legitimate chance to be a difference maker for Montreal in just a few years' time. But that'll do it for today's episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 5,000 before the end of the season, and I think we can do it with your guys' help. I'm Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next video.